Hello and welcome to This Is. Austin has not shut the fuck up about the Samsung Z Flip for the past 4 years.
I found a new way to profess my love for the Flippy Boy form factor.
I'm gonna keep my eyes right next to the mic so you guys can hear me. I want you guys to hear my eyes rolling for this.
Okay. This, my friends, is the Moto RIZR Plus, and it has one of the coolest features on a phone in 2023, which is the cover display. While it doesn't quite run the exact same software as on the inside, and I'll explain a little bit about that in a second, but the gist of it is almost every Android app can run full stop on the exterior display. Anytime you're doing anything, so say you're scrolling through threads, you're watching a video, whatever, you just open the phone up and immediately transitions into the inner display. That to me is an incredibly powerful feature because one of the big downsides to the Z Flip, the Z Flip is mildly annoying when it comes to pulling out of your pocket and you gotta go whoop, and you gotta go doop, 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 doop. Well, guess what? No longer, because I can do everything from my outer display. Asterisk, almost everything.
I'll give you that it's a cool feature.
It's a super good feature.
It makes me care even less about a folding phone than I already do now. Because I just want a phone that is this square size. Let me give you the plus size to this. I guess it does quell my biggest fear with a folding phone, and that's durability. Because you can't scratch the screen if you never open the phone.
That's actually not wrong, because the thing is, all folding phones have softer displays, and the outside of this device, I believe, is Gorilla Glass Victus. Let me give you some of the pros first. This outer display is executed 98% perfectly. I will say that Motorola absolutely nailed this external display. So it actually wraps around the camera. So if I actually open it up here for the camera app, specifically, you can see that the camera bumps have been completely absorbed into the screen, which means that if you're taking a selfie, you can look at yourself, Matt, smile. It's a little bit more subtle than that, right? Because you can just imagine you've got a big screen on the inside. Cool. It is the same PPI, and it is also a high refresh rate like the inner display. And while it's not quite as bright, it gets pretty bright. It's usable in sunlight, which means that unlike a worse cover display that the Samsung may or may not have compared to the inner display, there's essentially no downside going from in to outer screen. Your apps easily transition. They're basically the same width, they're just not quite as tall. But again, you get the same fluidity, you get the same quality. The screen on the outer display is really, really nice. I think that that's a very smart move that Motorola made. What else do we want to know about the RIZR? Because I have an enormous amount of thoughts. I've been waiting weeks to shoot this video. I have some good stuff, but I also have some really bad stuff. But what do you want to hear? What do you want to know?
All right, because to the layman, looking at this just looks like the Z Flip. What I would think is the Z Flip 5. What makes this different than the Z Flip besides this outer screen?
So here's the thing. This is technically the fourth version of the RIZR.
The fact that we're on like the fourth iteration, and most people probably don't even know that the RIZR really even still exists.
And here's the problem. Samsung are also in their fourth generation right now. So I'm just gonna compare this to the Z Flip 4, even though the Z Flip 5 is coming soon. It feels like Samsung still kind of have the edge here. Thank you to Birddogs for sponsoring today's video. It's summertime, but the world of shorts weather can be confusing and disappointing. An unenlightened shorts wearer might think that you have to sacrifice fit for comfort or vice versa.
But no, because Birddogs has solved this dilemma by saying, why not both? They invented their cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but with a secret ability. It stretches. So you get a stylish, slim fit in the thigh without sacrificing movement or comfort.
It's the same concept as Lululemon, but an even better fit.
And you don't have to sweat it about staying dry because Birddogs uses anti-odor, sweat-wicking fabric so you'll stay cool and dry all day long.
And with product names like Victor's Secret, Uncle Buck, and Art Fart Knockers, boy, who could just possibly resist?
You can experience the intersection of style and comfort too. Just go to birddogs.com/thisis and you'll get a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/thisis or promo code thisis for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. Stay hydrated and stay comfy.
While Motorola have a nice piece of hardware here, especially with that outer display, some areas where the RIZR falls short. The hinge. The hinge feels bad. If you're familiar with the Z Flip, it feels like a first generation Z Flip hinge. If you want to cringe, close the phone, put it in front of the microphone, and try to twist the sides. It does not feel good at all.
It's squeaking.
Now, mind you, there are advantages to this Hinge, right? So there's no gap, unlike the Z Flip 4. So it actually is a flat display, which means that when you're actually using it, not only is there less of a crease, but also when it's closed, it's a little bit thinner and there's no area for like dust and debris to get in there. I've been using this, like I said, for almost 3 weeks now at this point. The other day, I put my Z Flip on the shelf. I'm fully over on this guy. I picked up the Z Flip 4, I opened it and closed it, I was like, oh. It's one of those things where if you're not really into folding phones, you probably wouldn't notice. But to me, as someone who is, again, very, very used to the way that the Z Flip feels, this Hinge is not it. Look, I've used a lot of Z Flips and I've had some problems with screens. I've never had a problem with the physical Hinge. And this does not fill me with confidence.
Okay, I want to talk about the philosophy, the existential idea of a folding phone. And this still just doesn't do it for me. So I want to be clear. I think folding phones are cool. Yep. I think it's cool that we're pushing forward. Yep. I think it's cool that we're getting something different. But I would not personally use a folding phone like this because I use the Z Flip 4 pretty extensively. I don't like the way they feel because of the Hinge. Any crease.
Oh, crease.
And I don't care how small it is. If I can feel that crease with my thumb, I'm taken out of it. One, I could see it, which I hate seeing, but feeling it is so much worse. The fact that it's anything less than nothing, which is at the moment physically impossible. I know what would make me use a folding phone does not currently physically exist in our mortal realm. I know I'm asking a lot for this, but that's why I'm just saying, me personally, it's hard for me to get on board with this. When you talk about it's so small in your pocket, it's not. Here's our iPhone. It is thicker than an iPhone.
Yeah, but it's like half the damn height.
But that's not the problem for me with pocket size. For me, thickness is a bigger problem for the pocket size than it is for the height. The other thing too is just is the fragility of it. Because you have had an issue with literally every one of your folding phones. This is a polarizing take. And we've mentioned this in many things, and we get comments, it feels like it's 50-50. But people who are like, I've had my Z Flip since wherever. It's perfect. I dropped it down a concrete stairwell.
Don't do that.
And it's fine, blah, blah. And then the exact same amount of comments is, I dropped my Z Flip on a pillow once and it scratched the screen and the service has said they did nothing. It's very polarizing, but the fact that it's 50-50 and you've had multiple versions of every version of the Z Flip and every single one of them has had the screen protector come off. I don't think you've ever had one of these for more than a year.
No, I have upgraded every year. So
right.
That's totally fair.
The fact that this is all happening, you start having these issues at around the 9-month mark.
A lot of thoughts, Matt, and I will actually say I largely agree with you. Now, to rebut a couple of those things, my issues with the Z Flips in the past have largely been screen protectors. Most of my screen protectors at some point do start to bubble up, and I just peel them off. It's not quite like a normal screen protector, and that you really can't get a replacement. You're actually supposed to go back to Samsung or whatever and have them put one on. That being said, I've only actually had one proper issue with the Z Flip, which was on my Z Flip 3, where the screen actually just died. I was able to get that replaced under warranty, so not a great experience, but a screen protector having a little issue bubbling versus an actual screen breaking or something, a little bit different, but fair, totally fair compromise.
It's more that it happens consistently and early. One of the things that a lot of the arguments we see in the comments for this is, I don't care because I upgrade mine too because they're super aggressive with their upgrade pricing. To me, that is less about them being super nice, cool guys.
They want them back.
Yeah, they want them back because they know that these can't last that long.
That's fair. So let me talk a little about the RIZR specifically, right? Because obviously this is all looked through the lens of I love these flippy devices, and I have some issues with the RIZR. So I've said the good, which is absolutely this outer display. So the RIZR Plus starts at $1,000, the same MSRP of the Z Flip 4. It also has the same Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, which is admittedly a year-old processor at this point, but it's totally fine on the performance. However, there's another version of the RIZR coming soon, which is going to get rid of the outer display and go for a lower-end chipset. But importantly, will keep pretty much everything else the same, and is rumored to cost somewhere between $600 and $700.
Still too much to me.
Okay, I understand that, but to me, this feels like it's the $700 phone that they have engineered to cost that kind of price. This Hinge feels like it is a cheaper device compared to the Z Flip. I'm a little disappointed, I'll be honest, because while I love that outer display, a lot of other areas are just okay.
It still rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll flip on my thoughts on this at some point. It's not like I'm scoffing that it's a bad chip, because it's definitely not. It's just, again, I excuse this more when we were in the first and second gen of these things. We're okay, it's almost more of a working prototype that we're bringing, testing the water, but like if we're on a Gen 4 at this point,
You want it to be full fiber.
If I'm paying flagship prices, I want flagship specs.
You know where this is not flagship?
Where?
The cameras.
Suck.
No flippy phone has a good set of cameras, largely because it's got to be so damn thin and you don't want a huge camera bump. I understand that. But the problem is that I would say that the Z Flip 4 has an adequate camera. I would say the Z Flip 4 has pretty good photos and decent video. The RIZR has okay photos and awful video. Some of the photos and videos I've gotten on this thing feel like they're from a $200 Moto G. This is just not a good set of cameras. Like it is, I would say, not acceptable for $1,000. And again, this is where I think the idea that I like this phone, but it feels like they've really cost cut the rest of the phone to hit that $600-700 price point on the regular version, and they just slapped the outer display to get up to that $1,000 price point on the Plus. And I was really surprised because honestly, you know this. I ordered this phone the second that the pre-order went live, right? I was incredibly excited when I saw it announced. Bought this with my own money in the blue. I'm super, super amped about it. I got in and I was thrilled. Like literally, I was like waiting outside the door for the UPS guy to be like, bring me my phone. And over the last couple of weeks, I have completely fallen out of love to the point where over the weekend, I didn't even use the RIZR. I literally went out, I left the RIZR, and I just used my iPhone mini because I was like, you know what? The RIZR had bothered me enough with all these little things that I was just like, I was over it. The thing is, while this outer display is great for like the camera and whatnot, it doesn't ultimately make a huge difference besides it's a little bit of a bigger screen. The big difference with the outer display is much more to do with the things that you can do with it, right? So I can actually scroll and read articles and stuff. I've used this outer display just like a really baby little phone. That's terrific. I have almost no complaints about the outer display. The only real complaint I have is that because it can be used both closed and open, the fingerprint sensor is on the side, and it is so easy to accidentally unlock the phone. I've had this thing on in my pocket so often, and once it's on, it kind of tends to sort of stay on a lot. And the other downside is that the fingerprint sensor doesn't do the little swipey thing, so I can't use it to like slide my notifications down. Minor little issues, but there's like enough little things here, which is like for a 4th generation device, I would have hoped the Motorola would have gotten this a little bit better sorted because there's a lot of stuff that's great here. And I'll be honest, even though I love this outer display, I think that that regular RIZR, when it comes out in a couple months for, if it really is $600, maybe $700, that might actually be the move, right? I could really realistically understand why someone would want to get into this form factor of the smaller device with some compromises because it's going to be so much cheaper.
Cheaper and cheap are two different things, because if you have all these specs that are not adding up to a good phone now, imagine now with the main selling point of this, without the screen.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone should get this for like less than like $400.
Well, okay, it's not
like,
that bad.
Because like you literally said it's like a Moto E. The folding phone is not that much of a selling feature.
It is though.
No, it's slightly convenient.
I'm comparing this against a $1,000 Z Flip, right? And at $1,000, the only advantage this has is the outer display. Everything else about this, I would say, is generally not as good as even the 4, much less the 5. If you cut it down in price and you open up this form factor to another generation of people who actually want to go out and spend $600 on a phone instead of $1,000. If you want to get into a folding phone and you don't trust a used, which is a fair point, right? That you want to get a brand new device, that RIZR could be good. I can't say for sure because obviously I've not actually tried it.
Go get a Lamborghini because you want to get in the supercar market, but go ahead and put a 1993 Ford Focus engine in there, all right? You're going to be in the supercar market, but you're going to have a 1993 Ford Focus, and one of those cylinders in that 4-cylinder engine ain't going to work super great.
That's a little mean, but that's just my thought.
That's what you just said. Look, that's everything you just described on there. You know what this has actually made me thirsty for? Where I'm getting vibrating with excitement. The RIZR.
Oh, the RIZR is cool. Would probably be a terrible device in principle.
Probably. But it's got me itchy with anticipation. So imagine this. Instead of folding open, because I'm not a peasant person who wants to use his own hands to fold open a phone. No.
We got a brief hands-on of it at MWC. You can check out that Denki video. Ken went a little bit more in depth and with the hands-on, but we've got some cool footage of it. That's a really good concept. Mind you, it's a really good concept in theory.
That's a better concept to me than folding.
But here's the problem though. That whole display, as my assumption is, it's gonna have to be the ultra-thin glass, which means that you're
the same glass that you're gonna have.
Yeah, but it's unfortunately, like with this, it's protected when it's closed. With that phone, it will be out all the time. Plus, you've got like the actual motor.
Sun's out, buns out.
Okay, let us know in the comments. What do you think about folding phones? What do you think about this RIZR Plus? Again, I was massively excited for it. And the fact that I'm saying all these things that are kind of sad makes me sad. But I got to be honest.
If you can't get excited for it, who do you think is? Because
people are going to spend $600 on this thing.
Oh my God. Would you spend $600 on a 1993 Ford Focus? Like, follow, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Pretty good deal, actually.